On this image are just a few examples of types of diseases that we aim to treat remotely and manage. Again, treatment again is relative. It may simply be managing these people. It could be adjusting their devices, sending them to healthcare. There are a variety of ways that you can use remote patient management to take care of them. This is not, make me clear, this is not telemedicine. We're not talking about television and this is all remote software, being able to follow people, millions of people. And again, you cannot have physicians in this interface. It's just too massive data. They don't want to be seeing someone's blood sugar every 5 minutes. But we do that. We follow people's blood sugar every 5 minutes. We write adaptive software that can predict so that if you had diabetes, we would be able to recognize you in this haze of cyber traffic and say, look, you know, Jackie's blood sugar is on a trajectory 2 hours from now. She's going to be hypoglycemic, and we can call her. Call the police, whoever it is you want to call, and manage that. These are some examples. The ones that are asterisked are already in development Medtronic, meaning that we already have development plans underway to remotely manage these types of diseases. But you can use your imagination, and let me just highlight the one on the bottom, vascular inflammation. To me, I'm a cardiologist, by the way, 25 years practicing interventional cardiologist, and so I spent most of my time in the middle of the night taking care of acute coronary syndrome. It's basically emergency plumbing work. What's amazing to me is that in the United States right now, there are about 1.5 million people a year who have a heart attack. And about 2/3 of them have sustained damage to their heart from that. About 500,000 of them die without getting to hospital. The sad fact is that we don't know who these people are in advance. We can't predict who's going to have a heart attack. These heart attacks are unheralded for the most part. So imagine that we had a little sensor in the coronary sinus, the exhaust pipe of the heart that measured chemicals coming out of the heart, and we had a sensor that could somehow be a sentinel for looking for biomarkers of coronary inflammation, which we believe is the proximate cause of plaque rupture. It's not that hard for my imagination, I hope yours, to recognize that we probably could recognize people who are in the vicinity of a near heart attack or stroke, call it out and do something about it in advance. Again, so it's not asterisk because we don't know what the biomarker is, so we can't put that in development until we do. But I believe that in the lifetime of most people in the room, we will have a way to remotely monitor people for acute coronary events and acute stroke. You say, well, how does that save the system money? Well, because again, these are the people that go on to have heart failure, have irreversible strokes, become hospitalized. And so if we could use this type of technology, I'm very confident that we can keep people out of hospital, keep them out of disabilities, save the system money. You be the judge. It'll happen, I think, in 20 to 30 years. A lot of this will happen next year. So let me start with this concept is that, again, this is a conference about innovation. We're a medical technology company. Our stands out there, you go look at these things. We're largely a company that is providing implanted devices to physicians and hospitals. We recognize, and it's part of our strategy, that we have to be part of a convergence. And I'm just going to bring in some things that are going to eclipse our story, which has been a pretty good story for 50 years, now the world's largest medical device company. We talked a little bit about how biologics are ultimately going to replace devices as palliative devices. Devices will play a role in this, but if we get this right, then devices as we know them will necessarily change. We talked a lot about communication technology. Again, how we're going to be able to use devices along with all our neighbors at Microsoft and Apple and BT to basically not only use devices to treat people, but use devices to actually manage their diseases. What we didn't talk about is material sciences. I'm not going to go into this, but again, I would argue that the UK has this as well as anyone. You have phenomenal material sciences here at Imperial College, up in Birmingham, Cambridge, Oxford. I'm here 8 or 10 times a year, and I'm constantly amazed at what's going on. There's going to be an interesting thing. We've talked a little bit how we can use bioinformatics, genomics, proteomics to basically rationalize healthcare in a way that isn't rationalizing it the way that we think of people standing in line, but actually making decisions about who really benefits, who doesn't from the therapies we're talking about. I haven't talked about this, again, if not here, where this is the country that brought forward CAT scanning, brought forward ultrasound. We fully believe that imaging and navigation will replace surgery as we know it. Lord Darcy's been part of the less invasive approach, but again, I happen to believe as a physician that there's no excuse to be inside the body with a knife. Ultimately, we should be able to do everything we want to do inside the body through catheter-based systems, small ports, in order to do that, you have to see where you're going, and this is where navigation imaging plays a role. And I again would argue, if not here, where really? So let me stop here. I wanted to save a little time for questions, and again, the point of what I've tried to make here is that we should be able to use technology not only because it's cool and interesting. And again, I have broad oversight of all the technology at our company, and again, there's no one that I know who loves technology more than I do. And no one that I know who loves to see it used for patient welfare more than I do. But it can't just be cool and interesting. It has to be better care and better value. And again, that's our challenge. It's clearly your challenge. So let me stop there and maybe take some questions, Sarah. Thanks.